My son stopped smiling because of a single laugh. It wasn't the loudest sound in the ballroom, but it cut through every round of applause. One careless laugh turned a room full of celebration into the place where my 12-year-old lowered his head in front of our entire family. While everyone watched him fight back tears, I quietly rested my hand inside my jacket and felt the sealed envelope I'd carried for weeks. They believed I had come with nothing except hope. They had no idea I had come carrying the truth. My name is Ethan Brooks, and for as long as I could remember, my family measured success by money. Expensive cars, designer suits, private clubs, those were the things that earned respect in the Brooks family. I never played that game. After my wife passed away, I became a maintenance supervisor for our local school district. My days were spent repairing boilers, replacing broken lights, fixing doors that wouldn't close, and making sure children had safe classrooms to learn in. It wasn't glamorous work, but it was honest work. More importantly, it let me raise my son, Noah. Noah was 12 years old, endlessly curious, and the kind of kid who could spend an entire Saturday building tiny robots from broken electronics instead of asking for the newest gaming console. He believed every problem had a solution, and somehow he still believed I could solve almost anything. That evening should have been the proudest day of his life. Years earlier, my wealthy Uncle Victor had created the Brooks Family Young Innovator Scholarship. Every year, one child in the family earned the award through academic excellence in creativity. This year, Noah had earned it. No favors, no connections, just hard work. For weeks, he'd practiced his acceptance speech in front of our bathroom mirror. "What if I trip walking to the stage?" he'd asked with a nervous grin. I laughed. "You could fall 3 times, forget every word, and I'd still be the proudest father in that room." His smile returned instantly. I meant every word. The ballroom sparkled beneath enormous crystal chandeliers. Every table was covered with white linen and polished silverware. Conversations floated through the room alongside expensive perfume and louder egos. The Brooks family loved appearances. My cousin Damien loved them more than anyone. After Uncle Victor retired, Damien became director of the Brooks Foundation. He drove exotic cars, wore watches that cost more than my truck, and treated generosity like another investment. The moment he spotted us, he walked over, wearing his usual polished smile. "Ethan," he said, "still fixing air conditioners?" "Among other things." His eyes drifted toward Noah. "I suppose scholarships become especially important when college tuition isn't exactly in the family budget." Noah looked down without saying anything. I rested my hand on his shoulder. "We're here to celebrate." He smiled. "We'll see." The ceremony began. Children accepted awards one after another while proud parents wiped away tears. Then the announcer called Noah's name. For one perfect moment, nothing else existed except the enormous smile on my son's face. He stood, straightened the jacket we'd saved months to buy, and started walking toward the stage. Then Damien stepped to the microphone. "Before our scholarship winner accepts his award," he announced, "I'd like to recognize something." The room fell quiet. Damien smiled confidently. "Our foundation represents excellence. Sometimes excellence deserves a little assistance." People exchanged confused glances. He nodded toward Noah. "Since Ethan couldn't afford proper attire for an event like this, we've arranged a small surprise." An assistant walked onto the stage carrying a garment bag. She unzipped it. Inside hung a custom-tailored designer suit. Awkward laughter rippled through the ballroom. Someone even clapped. Damien wasn't finished. "We wouldn't want the Brooks family name represented by discount clothing." I watched my son's smile disappear. His eyes instinctively dropped to the suit he was already wearing, the one we'd proudly purchased together, the one he'd admired in the mirror just days before. Now dozens of people stared at it as though it were something to be embarrassed about. His voice barely escaped his lips. "Dad, maybe we should leave." I looked at him. "No. They're all staring. They're looking at the wrong person."
He searched my face, confused by how calm I sounded. Then he slowly nodded. He walked onto the stage, accepted his scholarship, thanked everyone with a voice that trembled despite every effort to stay strong. The applause that followed felt hollow. As we returned to our seats, Damien leaned toward me. "You should have stayed home." I met his eyes. "I almost did." He smirked. "But you didn't?" "I wanted to see how far you'd go." Something flickered across his face, only for a second. Then his confidence returned. Dinner began. Conversations slowly picked back up as though nothing had happened. Plates were served, glasses clinked, laughter returned to the tables. Only Noah remained silent. He pushed food around his plate without taking a bite. Every now and then he glanced toward the stage before quickly looking away again. He tried to smile whenever someone passed our table, but the effort never reached his eyes. "I ruined tonight," he whispered. I shook my head. "No. They'll always remember me for that. They'll remember something else before this night is over." He looked at me. I simply offered a small, reassuring smile and returned my attention to the room.
Across the ballroom, Damien laughed loudly with investors while accepting compliments. Board members congratulated him on another successful scholarship ceremony. Waiters moved quietly between tables. Uncle Victor chatted proudly with donors. Everyone looked comfortable. Everyone believed the evening was over. They didn't notice me watching. They didn't know I'd been waiting for exactly the right moment. Noah spoke again. "Does it ever stop hurting?" I looked toward Damien one last time. "It does." "When?" "When the truth finally arrives." A few minutes later, Uncle Victor stepped onto the stage to thank everyone for another successful year. He praised the scholarship program before inviting Damien to outline the foundation's plans for the future. Damien loved standing behind microphones. He confidently walked toward the podium. Before he could begin, I stood. "Excuse me." Conversations stopped. Damien frowned. "This isn't really the time, Ethan. It concerns the foundation." That caught Uncle Victor's attention. "What is it?" I walked slowly toward the stage. Every step echoed through the silent ballroom. Damien folded his arms. "If this is about hurt feelings, it isn't." I placed the sealed envelope on the podium. "I spent years maintaining offices used by the Brooks Foundation." Damien shrugged. "So?" "When you're responsible for maintaining a building, you notice things other people overlook." Soft whispers spread through the room. "I noticed financial records scheduled for disposal that didn't match reports I'd seen earlier." Damien laughed. "They were duplicate files." "That's what I thought too." I opened the envelope. But something didn't feel right. I looked toward a man seated several tables away. The accountant thought the same thing after I quietly brought the discrepancies to his attention. The accountant slowly stood. Together, we had carefully compared financial reports, verified missing transactions, matched altered payment records, and documented every inconsistency before bringing the evidence forward. We agreed the scholarship ceremony would be the first opportunity to place everything directly before the board without interference. I handed copies of the documents to Uncle Victor. "The scholarship fund has been making payments to consulting companies that don't actually exist." The room went completely silent. "And every one of those companies traces back to Damien." Damien laughed louder than before. "Forgery!" I calmly removed a small flash drive. The accountant preserved the original financial records before they could be altered again. Board members immediately began reviewing the paperwork. One compared signatures, another checked payment dates, a third examined account numbers. Faces slowly changed. Confusion, concern, disbelief. Uncle Victor looked at Damien. "Tell me this isn't true." Damien swallowed. "It looks worse than it is." Nobody answered. "They were temporary business accounts." "They're shell companies," one board member interrupted after reviewing the documents. Another looked up. The scholarship fund lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Damien reached toward the paperwork. I quietly stepped between him and the podium. No. Security personnel, sensing the tension, moved closer. The ballroom felt smaller by the second. Damien searched the room for support. No one moved. No one defended him. The accountant spoke clearly. I tried reporting irregularities months ago. The internal audit kept disappearing. Another board member checked emails on her phone. It was canceled from Damien's account. The final pieces fell into place. No dramatic speeches, no impossible coincidence, just carefully documented facts that could no longer be ignored. Damien's confidence finally collapsed. I can explain. Uncle Victor slowly reached over and removed the chairman's pin from Damien's jacket. No. His voice was filled with disappointment rather than anger. You've explained enough. He turned toward the board. As of this moment, Damien Brooks is removed from every position within this foundation, pending a full investigation.
No applause followed, only silence. The kind that comes when the truth finally settles over a room. Damien stared at me. You planned this. I looked him straight in the eyes. I didn't come here to win an argument. I came so my son would never have to bow his head to a lie. Nothing else needed to be said. Security quietly escorted Damien from the ballroom. The same relatives who had laughed earlier suddenly couldn't meet Noah's eyes. One mother approached our table. She knelt beside him. You earned that scholarship. He nodded politely. Another father shook my hand. I'm sorry. I appreciated the apology. It couldn't erase what had happened, but it acknowledged the truth. Uncle Victor slowly walked over carrying Noah's scholarship certificate. His eyes were red. I failed both of you. I believed the wrong person, I replied gently. He looked at Noah. I'd like one chance to make this right. Without waiting for an answer, he returned to the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, the room quieted once more. Tonight, a remarkable young man had his achievement overshadowed by an adult's arrogance. He smiled toward Noah. The stage belongs to its rightful owner. Noah hesitated. I nodded. Go. This time he walked with his shoulders back. He unfolded the speech he'd practiced so many nights. His hands still trembled, his voice didn't. I built my project because my dad always says broken things deserve another chance. Soft laughter spread through the audience. When our toaster stopped working, he fixed it instead of replacing it. More smiles appeared. When kids at school gave up on their science projects, he helped them finish. Then he looked directly at me. And when I wanted to quit after Mom died, he didn't let me. Every eye in the ballroom softened. My dad says people should be measured by what they build, not by what they own. For a heartbeat, nobody moved.
Then the applause began. It wasn't polite. It wasn't forced. It rolled across the ballroom until nearly every person was standing. I kept telling myself I wasn't crying. My eyes refused to agree. When the ceremony finally ended, Noah and I stepped outside into the cool night air. City lights shimmered across the river, while the noise of the ballroom faded behind us. For several moments, we simply stood together. Then Noah asked quietly, "Were you scared?" "Terrified." "Then why didn't you yell at them?" I smiled. "Because anger makes people hear emotion. And the truth? The truth makes people hear themselves." He thought about that. Then, without saying another word, he slipped his hand into mine the way he used to when he was younger. I almost believed what they said about us. "I know. I'm glad you didn't." I knelt beside him. "They never had the power to decide who you are." He smiled. "I think I understand that now." We walked toward the parking lot together. His scholarship certificate rested safely beneath his arm. The expensive designer suit Damien had offered as an insult remained forgotten inside the ballroom. Noah never needed it. He never needed anyone else's approval either. As we drove home, I looked over and saw the same quiet smile he'd worn before the ceremony had begun. only this time, nothing could take it away. Because a child's greatest inheritance isn't wealth, influence, or a famous family name. It's knowing that when the whole world doubts them, one honest parent will stand beside them until the truth stands on its own. If this story meant something to you, I'd truly love to hear your thoughts. What would you have done if you were in Ethan's place? Do you think he handled everything the right way? Share your opinion in the comments. I read as many of them as I can. And if you enjoy powerful stories about justice, family, and ordinary people finding extraordinary courage, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next story. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.